Today, we have very unfortunate and very big news about a brand new hacker in Geometry Dash. And when I say brand new, I don't mean that he's new to the game. This guy has been making YouTube videos for over 12 years, so this is honestly a shame. So let's get into this, chat. As you can see here, exposing WorldGame, who is the blindfolded Geometry Dash guy. Just in case you don't know who WorldGame is, he's this guy who got really famous for beating all Geometry Dash levels with a blindfold on. So the most popular one right now is probably level 7 Jumper. So he does this thing where he sits here, right? And then he puts on a blindfold, right? And then right after that, he just goes in and he beats level blindfolded, eyes closed. However, everybody always thought he was legitimate. This video is 10 years old. People have thought he was legit for years, but now there's a brand new video saying otherwise, that he's been exposed. So I actually have not watched this video yet. We're going to see this together live, chat. Let's do it.
Most people will recognize WorldGame from his Geometry Dash with Closed Eyes series, where he completes many of the game's main levels with a blindfold on, garnering him millions of views.
Yep.
Most notably among these videos is his completion of Club Step.
Yeah, I think this is where the exposal really comes in, because, bro, Club Step blindfolded is crazy. That is crazy. But, like, it's definitely possible, so I don't know. I thought he was real. Dude, we all did. We all did for the last 12 years. That's why this sucks so much.
Blindfolded, which he claims to have taken 2.1 million attempts.
Yeah, 2.1 million attempts. Is that even like, how long would that take, bro?
And 100 million jumps. If you are knowledgeable about this game whatsoever, you can already tell something strange is happening here. In fact, if these attempts are legit, it would be the highest attempt count for a completion in the game's history. Most people just chalk this up as being
So at the very least, he's probably lying about his attempts. At the very least.
Attempt lying, believing that the completion itself is still legit. Many people have already gone over this aspect of his completion in the past, so it won't be our main focus here. Instead, we believe this goes much deeper. First of all, I'd like to remind you how hard these achievements actually are. Keep in mind that beating a level with a blindfold on is much harder than beating a level such as Invisible Deadlocked.
That's what I was wondering, because there's like this level Invisible Deadlocked that is just deadlocked, but all the objects are invisible. But you at least have your icon as like a visual indicator of where you're supposed to be. If you're blindfolded, you have literally nothing.
Visual cues of your icon and must rely entirely on audio cues and muscle memory. Obviously, it's not impossible, just much more difficult. With that in mind, in addition to the 2.1 million attempts he spent on Club Step alone, you'd assume his gameplay would be as efficient and consistent as possible, which just isn't the case. His hand movements, or rather lack of, also just seemed a little inhuman, but that will be more important later on. Do keep it in mind. On top of all of this, he has essentially no connection to anyone in the GD.
You would think his hand would move more. I mean, he's just going like when I click, I'm like, do, like to memorize click patterns. Just, if you're doing it invisible, I'd think you have to click more. But again, let me let him actually get into the reason he thinks he's hacking. I'm yapping, bro.
Do keep it in mind. On top of all of this, he has essentially no connection to anyone in the JD community, which doesn't make sense considering how much time he claims to spend playing this game. All this information has led us to believe that this is much more than just attempt lying, so we decided to take a deeper look at what is actually happening here.
Okay.
One of our main issues with uncovering anything about what was going on here was figuring out what method he could be using to cheat. Due to his limited online presence and there being no live or raw footage of any of his completions, there isn't much.
That's already a red flag though, because like the demon list, for example, doesn't even accept records if people don't provide like the raw footage. Like, you know, like when I'm streaming and I beat a demon, there's like a 2-hour stream. The demon's only 1 minute of it. If you cut out the other 1 hour and 59 minutes, it's like, okay, like, what was even going on? How do we know he just faked that? That's why they only accept, like, full raw footage as proof of completion.
There were some possible theories presented by a few commenters that actually accused him of cheating, such as a second monitor being out of view from the camera, a fake blindfold, or someone else controlling the game.
And even those people that don't believe me in my video, because I received so many comments that something like, oh, but there is a person in your room that's pressing the mouse button instead of you, your mouse is not plugged in your computer.
Honestly, that would be a creative hacking solution. Get your friend to have a remote mouse and he clicks for you. That's not a bad idea. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Or your
I don't think that's what he's doing though, but we'll see.
blindfold, there is a hole in your blindfold so you can see through this.
However, none of these are the conclusion that we have come to. We believe that he may be using a method known as masking.
What?
In short, masking is what video editors name the process of putting one video on top of another and cropping out a specific section to reveal the video or image that is underneath.
For example, I could take these two clips from his club set video, one from the intro before he even touches his mouse and one from the middle of the completion. We can then mask a screen out of the intro, revealing the gameplay from the other clip. Doing this with a hand gets a lot more complicated, and that's why we believe his lack of movements is very suspicious, especially considering he generally never takes his hand off of his mouse after the completion.
We know for a fact that WorldGame would know how to do this, considering his various impressive VFX videos he makes.
That's right, this dude's a really good video editor. I forgot about that.
In
Look, he did like Geometry Dash in real life. Wait, that could actually, that's probably it.
real life series. The following steps is how we believe WorldGame uses masking to fake his completions. First, he records himself putting a blindfold on and then sits there repeatedly dying.
Okay, yeah, this is another thing I've always wondered. In every single one of his blindfold videos, he puts it on and then starts it. One attempt. He beats it in one attempt in every single video.
The beginning of the level, keeping his right hand as still as possible. He then records himself completing the level legitimately without the blindfold on. Next, he puts the first video on top of the second video, cropping out his hand and screen from the first video, allowing us to see his hand and completion from the second video. Put more concisely, he's using masking to put his blindfolded self over his non-blindfolded self to make the completion seem legitimate. We have a large...
Yeah, because I feel like what you could do is like, you know, just split the middle of the screen, have this side of the screen be the Geometry Dash, and then the other side of the screen, you overlap yourself with the blindfold. That might be what it is.
Amount of evidence spanning multiple of his videos that backs up this claim. I think the easiest way to go through all of this is by pointing out some of the major indicators of masking and showing which videos they appear in. Let's first start with what is most definitely the worst of this. In all of his videos before Theory of Everything, he has a monitor that isn't exactly the greatest for hiding masking. This is most obvious in Stereo Madness, Back on Track, Polargeist, Base After Base, and Jumper, where you can see the starting color of the level on the edges of his screen, and in the worst cases, you can even...
Yo, wait, this video's like 12 years old. How did nobody notice this? There's a whole green line, bro, from like the beginning of... whatever.
Attempts passing by.
The attempts pass by. No. Yo, you can see the attempts, the little white thing. Let me rewind that for you.
Color of the level on the edges of his screen.
Look right here.
And in the worst cases, you can even...
The attempts pass it. Yo, how did nobody notice this until now? Dude, this guy's been doing this for 12 years. Nobody knew this?
Even see the attempts passing by as he repeatedly dies. In addition to this, in a lot of the videos where this isn't visible, there seems to be some inconsistencies in the reflections on the edges of his monitor, implying that he just increased the size of the mask by a little bit. Unfortunately, once we reach Theory of Everything, he gets a new monitor that would make masking much easier, but there's still many other things that we have noticed. There's a lot of weird things that happen with his right hand in almost all of his videos. Some of the more consistent issues are his hand morphing into another hand at the beginning of an attempt. A visible line where the mask cuts off on his wrist.
Wait, rewind, I didn't notice it.
An attempt. A visible...
Am I tripping? I didn't notice anything.
Line where the mask cuts off on his wrist or other parts of his room. And his hand completely changing positions when covered by his other hand in an attempt to hide the removal of the mask. There are also a few
Yo, using his arm to block it, it's like... That's literally what he did, bro.
Instances of his left hand getting chopped off by poor masking when he is waving it around in front of the other one.
It is also worth noting that when we see this happen in Finger Dash, these two frames are exactly the same except for his finger being cut by the mask, his right hand still having slight movement, and the gameplay continuing as normal. This is bad because it shows that these two parts of the footage are separate.
Another thing of note is the complete lack of movement in his right hand or arm for the entire video after he starts the attempt, as this makes masking much easier. Now let's see what we can find when we apply this information to his most impressive completion, Club Set Blindfolded.
Yeah, this is the most sus one for sure!
To start off, this is one of the many completions where we can see part of his hand, or more particularly in this instance his finger, morph into another finger right before his completion attempt. In addition to this, there are multiple points throughout the attempt where his finger gets cut off at the edge of the mask. Moving on to when he actually beats the level, he actually does...
I kind of see it. I see like the black line underneath like this glass thing moving a little bit. WorldGame went undetected for 12 years, by the way. That's what I'm saying. That's what's crazy. Like, nobody has thought to expose this guy sooner. Like, it seems almost obvious in retrospect.
Move his arm a lot, with this being his only big reaction from any of his completions. However, moves it so quickly that it would be extremely easy to turn off the mask convincingly as soon as it starts to move. With all of this in mind, I believe it is safe to say that blindfolded clubstep, along with all of WorldGame's other blindfolded completions, are illegitimate. To recap, we have definite evidence that many of WorldGame's earlier completions are cheated, in addition to a lot of corroborating evidence that his later achievements are also cheated. It is always upsetting when someone is able to cheat.
Dude, I'm looking forward to seeing if he responds to this. Because, like, I wonder if he's going to have an excuse, or, like, if he actually just hacked and nobody noticed for this long. Because, like, dang, you were there 12 years and, like, never confessed and nobody exposed him. Like, I'm so surprised.
Their way into getting millions of views and high praise from the community.
Literally the Space UK of blindfold completions, because apparently that's a niche of Geometry Dash.
So it is our hope that this video can stop another instance of that. If this video somehow reaches WorldGame, we'd be willing to hear him out in case of a response that somehow explains what is actually happening here. We hope that this video could also reach some people in the VFX space that are much more qualified to talk about this subject.
Yeah, I'd be looking forward to seeing that.
Than ourselves. Anyways, that's all from us. Thanks for watching.
All right. That's interesting. Some additional evidence plus strange moments. Okay, okay. Bro, that's so obvious. There was a whole extra click and his finger didn't even move. Look at the hand next to me. Right here. How did nobody notice this? I'm just in disbelief that nobody has noticed this. Bro, let me go to his account again. Let me go to WorldGame's thing. Yeah, his first video, Stereo Madness Closed Eyes, was 11 years ago. Okay, so not quite 12 years, but in a few months it would be 12 years old. He's been doing this series. And nobody's caught him all this time, bro. Another part is he doesn't even react when he does it low-key. Usually. The club step one he did, but the others no. This is weird. Interesting. I'm just in... I know I've already said this like 5 times, but I'm just in disbelief. Nobody has pointed this out for years? I guess we just trusted him. I don't know why. This is soul crushing. I know. It feels like all of our childhoods we've been lied to. No, his hand totally... No, his hand totally caught. This is worse than Space UK? Okay, I don't know about that, but... Definitely feels like we've all been lied to. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. We've all been lied to. Treble PKGD made this, by the way. Credit to him for doing this. There's a few other things we noticed post-editing and didn't make it. Oh, okay. Let's notice this. Such as the attempts on the edge of the screen being there on Hexagon Force and possibly even on Clubstep. Feel free to do some of your own research. That's so crazy, bro. That's so crazy. The crying cat emoji is my real life reaction. That's crazy.